We're here to talk about strategies to believe in yourself. So we're here because we likely have goals that aren't yet attained, goals that we want to accomplish, things that we would like to be able to do. And we are starting to realize that when we think about achieving those goals, however big and grandiose or however realistic they may seem to us, that self-doubt starts to creep in. Are we capable of achieving this thing that we want for ourselves? Can we accomplish this goal that we're setting? And if you find yourself struggling with this self-doubt in any capacity, then we're going to help you solve that today. Because at the end of the day, whatever it is that you want to achieve, it's going to require you stepping out of your comfort zone. And if you're going to have to step out of your comfort zone, and if you're going to have to trust anyone, I would rather you learn to trust yourself. Because at the end of the day, you are the one with your best interest in mind. You are the one who is the expert on your life and your desires and your needs. And if you are not able to trust yourself, nothing else matters. So that's what I hope to do today. Now, who am I to be sharing this information? Many of you who are on this call probably know me in person in some capacity or have met me before, but even if you haven't, a couple of important things to know about me. I was not always the person that I am today. This photo of me was taken about 15 years ago. I was shy. I had incredibly low self-esteem, zero confidence in any capacity. I played everything safe. If I didn't know what the outcome was going to be before I tried to accomplish it, it wasn't even going to happen. I wasn't even going to attempt it. Contrast that with who I am today: confident, outgoing, very high self-esteem. I am able to trust myself more than anyone else because of the experiences that I've had, because of the work that I've done. And the interesting thing is, yes, this happened after my own personal transformation where I lost nearly 100 pounds. From a health and fitness perspective, that was huge for my confidence. But that was not the thing that I discovered that led me to become the person I am today. It was deeper than that. It was more than that. And the framework of what allowed me to become truly who I am today, the opposite of who I was back then, the ability to be able to trust myself came from increasing my confidence. And the fitness helped, but it wasn't the only thing. But if we want to boost confidence, we have to be on the same playing field. We have to define what confidence is. What exactly do we mean when we say we want to be more confident, or we want to have higher levels of self-confidence? A lot of people throw this word around, and it's one that is used often enough that most of us understand intuitively what people refer to, but not always specifically. And again, it's always helpful that we are working from a clear definition. Confidence is a general sense of capability. Are we generally capable of following through, of accomplishing, of being successful at tasks? Generally speaking. Now, that generally is a key part of the definition of confidence because if it is a general sense of capability, what that means is it's a culmination of a lot of different pieces that go into our overall level of confidence. Confidence is not one singular thing. It is a mixture of many things. So oftentimes in our practical life, when we're thinking about being more confident or believing more in ourselves to achieve likely a specific goal or a set of specific goals, we're actually referring to something different. We're referring to self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is our belief in our ability to be successful at a specific task. This is different than confidence. Confidence is our overall sense of capability. Self-efficacy is our specific sense of capability at this thing. And this is important because we can be generally confident in our abilities, but we can have low self-efficacy for a specific task. If we've never dry needled before, I don't know why I came to that example, don't ask me why, but if we've never dry needled before, even though you might be a confident person, you might not have a lot of self-efficacy in your ability to dry needle somebody successfully and appropriately. If you've never spoken a particular foreign language before, you might be a generally confident person, but if you have no knowledge of this specific language, you're not going to feel a lot of self-efficacy to hold a conversation with someone in that language. So self-efficacy can apply to all the different areas of our life. We can have high self-efficacy, a high belief in our ability to succeed at a fitness-related task or at a career-related task. But we might have low self-efficacy for something we've never done before or something that feels out of our comfort zone. If we want to develop the ability to trust ourselves, to believe in our ability, and to increase our overall sense of capability, our overall level of confidence, it starts with boosting our levels of self-efficacy for the specific tasks that we're trying to accomplish. So that's the distinction between those two terms, confidence and self-efficacy. By improving our self-efficacy, by proxy, we improve our confidence over time. Okay. So what we're going to be talking about today is specifically and practically, how do we boost levels of self-efficacy for whatever the task is at hand? And there's really four phases to this. There's four different things that we need to do, four pieces to this puzzle to boost self-efficacy. The first is past performance. Have we been successful in the past at a similar or the same task that we're trying to be successful at now? Because at the end of the day, our past performance is a pretty big indication of future accomplishment. The second, vicarious experience. Are we surrounded by people that act as role models? Are the people in our environment proof that what we're trying to accomplish is possible? Also very important. This is where community plays such a huge role. The third piece is verbal encouragement, or more globally, we're going to be talking about support. Because as you're going to see later on, not all help and not all support is created equal. There are different types, and we need to understand how to leverage those different types of support in pursuit of the things we want to accomplish. And then the fourth and final piece to increase levels of self-efficacy, our emotional states. When we're in a more positive emotional state, naturally it boosts our levels of self-efficacy, our belief in our ability to be successful. If we have worser emotional states or more negative, that inherently decreases our level of self-efficacy. So to combat that, we need to begin building emotional awareness. So we have some say in what our emotional state may be. These are the four different pathways we need to meet in order to boost self-efficacy and things that you can start changing right now, today. And we're going to go through each of these in a little bit more detail so that you know exactly what you need to do. But first, past performance. I said earlier that past performance is a great indicator of future success. But it's not quite so simple. Because I want you to think about a time when you may have been successful and you may have discounted that success. I just had an example of this recently. Was talking to one of the members in my coaching program who happens to be a competitive ballroom Latin dancer. And he and his partner, both of which are members in my coaching program, just became over 40 world champions. So the way competitive dancing works is there's different categories, right? There's amateur and professional, and then within each of those, there's different categories of age groups and descriptors and whatnot. And so they were in the over 40, because they're both over 40 years old, the over 40 category in their particular style of dance. And they became world champions for that federation in that category. Objectively, they scored and won their competition to become or to achieve that title. And in talking to one of the members of that pair, his ability to discount that accomplishment and to talk it away because they're over 40, it's not as impressive, or they're not really world champions because it's a very specific category within this particular federation, and all of the things that we may do in our own lives and related to our own goals to talk ourselves out of the accomplishments that we've had in the past. This tendency to discount our accomplishments is important because it leads to a very important fundamental truth, which is that you have to define what success means. Oftentimes we jump to the big grandiose accomplishments, the things way down at the end of the road. In health and fitness, and maybe once you lose the 100 pounds you've been struggling with, that's the thing, that's the moment where you'll feel like you were successful. In the case of that member of our program, he became a world champion dancer and he discounted it because it was in the over 40 category. We have the ability to define what success means for us. And the reality is that these small incremental wins actually contribute more to boosting our level of self-efficacy and our overall confidence than any major accomplishment. So even though we may not have lost all the weight we want to lose, if we're tracking our eating and changing and improving our diet, if we're exercising and moving more regularly, if we're becoming more aware of the health behaviors that we're engaging in, and we're cutting out a lot of the unhealthy behaviors that got us to where we were, those are all indications of success. When you define your success and you're able to identify the small incremental wins that you have, which we call micro successes, I'll get more into this in a second, that's going to allow you to gradually build your level of self-efficacy. The problem is if we wait for the big win, that's usually a long path filled with a lot of setbacks, a lot of obstacles, and a lot of challenges. And if we wait until the finish line to feel successful in any capacity, the likelihood that we're going to quit prematurely skyrockets. So you get to define success for whatever that means. For new members coming into our program, it's often that they're reading the tutorials, that they're reading their welcome packet, and they understand what some of the information and terminology is that we use when we're coaching people. That is success. Logging into their profile in our app is a success. Doing their starting measurements is a success. These small wins generate momentum, and that's very, very important. Now I want to ask you a different question. If you were to sit here for a moment and you were to think of past success that you've had in any area of your life, however big or small, again, up to you to define. I'm curious how many of us jump to past failures or jump to discount our past successes. And if this happens to be you, I want you to think about why that is, because it's actually pretty common. Discounting or jumping to our past failures sort of clouds what we think is possible in the future, or makes us more uncomfortable to try certain things or to take certain risks because we get in our heads about those past failures. Because just like past success is indicative of potential future success, past failures can sometimes lead us to believe that we're again going to fail at this new task in the future. And the only thing I want to share with you about this is if you find yourself jumping to past failures or being quick to discount your abilities, recognize that you don't have to do that. There is no rule book that says that that has to be the default thing that we jump to. This is likely learned behavior from past experience and our fears projecting themselves forward. And I want to challenge you, if this is you, to start changing that narrative by defining your success differently, maybe breaking it down into simpler, smaller wins. In other words, finding proof of what we call micro successes. These are the small wins that we often overlook. But the more small wins, however ridiculous it may seem, that we can accumulate, again, that generates the momentum that gets things going so that we feel more capable. Momentum drives motivation more than anything else. So if we want to feel more motivated and more capable, we have to build that momentum. And we do that by acknowledging our micro successes. Now, what's something other than defining success differently, other than questioning if we're jumping to past failures, and other than recognizing and identifying micro successes that not only we have accomplished, but can continue to accomplish, something else super practical that you can do is to create visual reminders of accomplishments you've already had in your home, in other spaces that you spend time in frequently. You probably can't see it on here because I have the Zoom background on, but in my office, just over here to my left, I have a frame. I have a couple of frames. One has the medal for the marathon that I ran, wow, about 10 years ago now. Um, the first and only marathon I've ever run. It's got the medal encased in a frame with a picture of me at the finish line. Next to that is a frame with a magazine edition from Muscle and Fitness. The January, I believe this was 2020, 2019, January 2019 edition of Muscle and Fitness was the first magazine where my work was published in a print magazine. I've had a number of works published in online publications, but never in a print physical copy magazine. And so I went out and I bought a copy and I had it framed. And the significance of these two things, as they sit framed on the desk next to me, is they are my visual reminders of past accomplishments I've had that remind me of what I'm capable of. Because as I'm sitting here at my desk in my office and I am planning how to grow my business and I'm planning how to reach more people and create a bigger, better impact on people in the health and fitness space, on people in the psychology space, doing all the things I do to help people live their best lives. That inherently involves getting out of my comfort zone and trying projects and tasks and doing things that I've never done before and have less experience in. And so it's natural in those moments for the self-doubt to creep in. And so these visual reminders of past success help orient me that if I'm able to accomplish those things, there's no reason I can't also accomplish these things. And that's the power of creating visual reminders. So the way we can leverage past performance to help boost our self-efficacy is to display achievements in your home. This could be a diploma from graduating school. This could be special certifications that you've acquired if it's in your professional life. It could be memorabilia from trips that you've taken that you were proud you were able to afford, or other accomplishments that you've had, or recreational sports league trophy even counts as an achievement that you're proud of. So to leverage the benefit of recollecting past performance and our past successes to boost our levels of self-efficacy, think about what achievements you can display visually in an environment that you frequent. For me, it's my home office. For you, it might be other areas of your home. It might be sometimes people do this in their vehicles, right? They hang things from the rearview mirror as long as it's like small enough. Whatever it is for you, find ways to have past successes act as visual reminders so that we can leverage past performance to boost our sense of capability for whatever our goal is in the future. All right, so that's past performance. Now we're moving into vicarious experience. What this means is being in a community of people that normalize the behavior that you're working towards. So when you see people that you perceive are like you succeed at the things you're trying to succeed at, it boosts your self-efficacy and your confidence in your ability to achieve those things. And so there's really two criteria for this. One, are these people working towards a similar goal? Obviously, if they're working towards something completely different, that can sometimes be helpful, and we'll see why in a second, but sometimes it's not relevant to you. And so it doesn't help you feel capable. If you're, for example, going to a gym and you just want to lose weight, improve your blood work, and generally feel better about yourself, that is a very different goal than people who are competing in bodybuilding. And so if you're surrounded by those people, usually it's not going to be as motivating for you because their goals are so different and where they're at in their health journey is so different that it's not relatable, which brings me to the second part of vicarious experiences, which is not only should their goals be somewhat similar to yours, they should also be relatable to you. And by relatable, it's are they operating from similar circumstances? Do they have a similar background, similar life experience? Are they someone I can see myself in? So if you go to a gym and you're trying to lose weight and get healthier, and you're surrounded by other people who are doing the same thing, they're working normal jobs, they're raising families at home, dealing with children, dealing with extracurricular school activities, running errands, trying to juggle it all, and you're in the same boat, watching them succeed is going to help you feel more confident in your ability to succeed because you can see yourself in them and it feels more possible, more realistic. Okay. But if it's not a similar goal or if they're not relatable to you, it will not be as helpful. So if I'm trying to scale my business, I can't look to Jeff Bezos as my vicarious experience, as my inspiration, because he's so far ahead and what level he's operating at, that feels out of reach for me. And it's not relatable. It's similar, but not relatable. So if we can surround ourselves with people who are both working towards similar goals and relatable to us, it can help boost our levels of self-efficacy. So what I encourage you to do is to find a friend or a colleague that inspires you. And then ask yourself, does spending time with them give you new insight and inspiration towards your goals? Do they light you up when you talk about them? And in the process of this, take mental notes about how you feel during and after your interactions with them. Do you feel better, more capable, more confident in your ability to achieve that goal? Or do you feel worse? Do you feel less capable? Do you feel more discomfort at the thought of achieving these things? That's pretty telling about whether you're around the right people. But ultimately, this speaks to the importance of community. Recognizing our past performance helps us feel capable, and being surrounded by people successfully achieving the things we want and they're relatable to us allows us to see ourselves in that success. And that is powerful. Our third element of boosting self-efficacy is verbal encouragement. And really what we're talking about here is support. But not all support is created equal. And I said that earlier. And so the reality is we have to clearly define what type of support we need because there's really two main types of support. Verbal support or encouragement is sort of this, just like it sounds, it's that verbal hype man, hype woman that's there to offer you positive affirmations and words of encouragement. They are not the ones that are going to go to the gym with you or be there physically while you're working towards these things, right? If you're in school, for example, and you're working towards a new certification or a new degree, they're not going to be the ones in the library studying with you, but they will be offering you encouragement, reminding you that you're capable, reminding you that you have the capacity to achieve these things. And most importantly, when done correctly, they should also be able to provide honest compassion. So positive affirmations, but also be able to be honest with you when you're dropping the ball, when you are living below what you are capable of. If they can provide positive affirmation, words of encouragement, and honest compassion, then that is a stellar form of verbal support. Now, the other type of support is behavioral support. This is what we colloquially refer to as help. These are the people that will be in the library with you studying while you're working towards that certification or degree. These are the people that are going to go to the gym with you as a workout buddy while you're trying to get healthy or lose weight or build muscle or whatever the goal is. So these are people who are actively participating in the act of reaching your goals. Workout buddies or people who show up and give you their time and or resources to help you achieve the goal that you have. Now they can be simultaneously working towards a similar goal, right? They could have their own degree they're working on, and that's why they're in the library studying with you. They're studying their material, you're studying yours. They could be at the gym working towards their own health goal while you're working on yours. But understanding the differences in this type of help is important because ultimately what we need to do is clearly define what type of support we need, verbal encouragement or behavioral help, and then communicate that to the people who are likely to be able to give us those different types of support. Because not everyone in your life, however much they care for you, will be able to give you both types of support. Some people are better at verbal encouragement, other people are better at giving help. Not always the same. So identify who in your life can give you the type of support that you need. And then getting that support is crucial for long-term success. Another note I'll make is that people who struggle to find this in their lives through their friends or their family. And I did a workshop on this, why friends and family actually tend to sabotage our goals, especially our health goals. So if you're curious about that, I have a replay that I can send you all, and I'll tell you how to get that later. But being able to recognize who can give that support. And if the people in your life close to you can't, this is where the value of a coach comes in. Because a coach can be that person to provide either verbal encouragement or help, or sometimes both. But finding the support you need is crucial to building that level of self-efficacy. And then our final sense of building self-efficacy is emotional states. Our brain has two halves, our emotional and our rational, and they don't work at the same time. Our emotional brain is impulsive. It's driven by short-term pleasure and often releases our inner critic. We can fall into the spiral of anxiety and negative thought loops. Conversely, our rational brain is logical. It looks for solutions to our problems. It can understand long-term consequences and payoffs. We know that even though something feels good now, it might be less good for us in the long run. And thus, we can make better, more informed decisions. Recognizing when we're operating from an emotional brain and when we need to operate from a rational brain is crucial for being able to control our emotional state. Because again, the more negative emotional state, if we're in an emotional spiral, is going to lead to lower levels of self-efficacy and lower confidence. But if we can turn on the rational part of our brain, solve the problems we need to solve, we can boost that level of confidence and self-efficacy. And the easiest way to do this, the easiest way to move ourselves from our emotional brain to our rational brain is with one simple question. Ask yourself, when you're starting that emotional spiral, what advice would you give to a friend who's in the exact same situation? I love this question because what it does is it allows us to create emotional distance. Many of us probably give great advice to our friends. Many of us are probably not quite as good at taking that advice ourselves. And it's because when we're giving the advice to a friend, we're not having the emotional experience. We're operating from the rational side of our brain. When we're experiencing the emotions, the rational side of our brain turns off. But if we can turn off the emotion by putting ourselves in the position of a third party, of a friend, giving advice to someone in an emotional state, we can artificially move ourselves to a rational side of our brain for a moment so that we can have clearer thoughts and make better decisions. So if we need to boost our emotional state to be more positive, start by using this prompt when you feel yourself in an emotional spiral to pull yourself out. I pulled it together. We might get out of here on time. Important things to understand. This is a gradual process. This is a gradual process, not an overnight shift. By focusing, I gave you some practical things you can do for each of these layers. By doing those today, you're not immediately going to have through the roof self-efficacy or confidence. But if you continually implement these strategies over time, your self-efficacy will improve for the specific goals you have, and your overall level of confidence will improve as a result. So, quick recap: past performance, past success is a good indication of future success. So, if we can recall our past successes, both big and small, with the micro successes, we can feel more capable about achieving other things in the future. And the best way to do this is to hang visual reminders of some of those past successes that we've had. Vicarious experience, being surrounded by the right people, people who are working towards a similar goal, and people that we can relate to, that we can see ourselves in to make it seem more realistic that we can accomplish the things that we're working toward. Very important. So finding that friend or colleague or someone in your life that inspires you, that is working towards a similar goal or has accomplished that and can act as that role model for you. Getting the right support, whether this is through your friends, your family, or hiring the help of a coach. Understanding whether you need verbal encouragement or whether you need behavioral help. And then being able to communicate that to these people clearly so that they're not giving you the type of support that's unhelpful, that's holding you back instead of pushing you forward. Building emotional awareness by recognizing the two halves of our brain, emotional and rational. Using that prompt, what advice would you give to a friend in the same situation, to create emotional distance and to help you see things more clearly and come up with better solutions. And lastly, what I want to offer you for being on this workshop with me today to take it a step further is what we call a breakthrough call. That breakthrough call is your chance to get on a risk-free, pressure-free call with me or a member of my team so that we can help you figure out how to implement these strategies in your life so that you can continue the process of boosting your self-efficacy and boosting your confidence so that you can start believing in yourself. because all of these things work if you do them consistently. But we know that's the hardest part. So if you're interested in one of these breakthrough calls, again, totally free to you. My gift to you for being on this workshop here today, you can either scan that QR code to slot yourself in or text me the word breakthrough to my phone number. And that's my actual cell number, 734-904-4008. Text me the word breakthrough and probably your name, just in case I don't have your number currently, so I know who I'm talking to. And I will help you get this call scheduled. It's about a 20, 30-minute call. It allows us to dive deeper into what you're currently working towards and where you feel like the setbacks are happening. And this could be for your health and fitness, it could be for other avenues of life as well, so that we can help you continue the process of believing in yourself. I'm running just a few minutes late. That was a lot of information, but I want to thank you guys for being here. We're going to wrap this up. I will send out this replay because I know we kind of went through it pretty quickly so that you can review it as many times as you'd like. I encourage everyone, if you feel still like that you're trying to, it makes sense, but you want to know how to implement this in your life, schedule that breakthrough call with us so that we can help you accomplish that. All right. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for joining me on this live stream workshop. I look forward to seeing you guys accomplish more as a result of this. And I hope to talk to you again soon. Have a good night, everyone.